There was a metal groan from the pistons deep within the walls. The sacrificial plastic curtains covering the interior of the airlock wrinkled from the pressure of built-up argon. These curtains would be incinerated inside the airlock while the condemned cleaned. The area would be scrubbed before nightfall, made ready for the next cleaning. The great metal doors shuttered, and then a shaft of incredible space appearing at their joining, widening as the door withdrew into the jam. They wouldn't open all the way, not like they were once designed to. The risk of invading air had to be minimized. Welcome to The Cleaning, a podcast about the Apple TV Plus series Silo, which is based upon the books of the Silo series from author Hugh Howey, and specifically this first season is based on Wool. This video will be a non-spoiler introduction to the world and major characters of Silo, great for newbies and a refresher for people who've already read the book and want to remind themselves why it's so wonderful. Let's set the stage for everybody. In a ruined and toxic future, thousands live in a giant silo deep underground, a subterranean city that extends 144 stories beneath the surface. The small community is stratified, with farmers and mechanics in the lower third, the information technology folks in the heart of the structure, and the professional class in the upper levels. All the residents of the silo have been taught that the outside world is toxic and deadly, and anyone who expresses any desire to go outside is sent outside to clean the external sensors. These are the exterior cameras, which get covered by dirt and dust. The cleanings allow the people who live in the silo their only view of the outside world. Of course, the people sentenced to perform these cleanings are given protective helmets and suits to keep them alive as long as possible. But the protective suits can't last long in a hostile outside world. Those sent outdoors do inevitably clean the cameras as they've been instructed, but they die a few minutes later. Note, you may accidentally hear me call Silo Wool instead of Silo, mainly because I bought the Wool omnibus when it first came out, and I've always thought of the stories as Wool. And in fact, Apple called the story Wool as recently as January of 2023.
What's the big question?
What if everything you know to be true was one big lie?
The main marketing of the series focuses on actress Rebecca Ferguson as Juliette, a 34-year-old woman who's working in the lowest levels of the silo as a mechanic.
Down in mechanical, there's always someone who has a theory about the silo. I need to find out the truth. I found something that might hold the answers to a lot of questions.
She's part of the team that keep the silo running. Here's a passage on Juliette, or Jules, as she's also referred to, from the novel. A young-looking woman in overalls, a hard hat on, brown braided hair hanging out the back, was leaning into a wrench nearly as long as she was tall. Her presence gave the machines a terrifying sense of scale, but she didn't seem to fear them. She threw herself into the wrench, her body frightfully close to the roaring unit. The woman's arms were lean and well-defined with muscle. She wore no undershirt, just blue overalls cut high up over her chest, exposing a bit of olive skin that gleamed with sweat. As we've stated, Juliette works in mechanical, and the mechanics on the lower level are a tight-knit bunch. She has a strong bond with fellow mechanics Knox, Walker, and George. Her father is a maternity doctor, Peter Nichols, played by Ian Glenn. You might know him as Sir Friendzone Jorah Mormont from Game of Thrones.
You have to stay quiet. And keep your head down.
Now, while the marketing positions this as the Rebecca Ferguson show, the book readers will know that there's another just as important character in Holston, the silo's sheriff, played by David Oyelowo.
If you boil the pat down to one rule, it's do not say you want to go outside. Or you will go outside.
Holston lifted an old boot to an old step, pressed down and did it again. And he thought, not for the first time, that neither life nor staircase had been meant for such an existence. The tight confines of the long spiral staircase, threading through the buried silo like a straw in the glass, had not been built for such abuse. Holston is the classic character, the cop too old for this. His office is on the top level of the silo, and he has deputies stationed in the mid-levels as well as the bottom levels to help him keep the peace. Holston lives with his wife Allison, played by Rashida Jones.
What if what we see is not what's out there?
Allison has some computer skills, but with her computer skills, she's got to remember the first rule of Silo is don't ask questions about the silo. In that upper office, Holston also has his deputy, Marnes, played by Will Patton. Now, as Silo Sheriff, Holston shares keeping the peace in the silo with another leader, that's Mayor Johns. I should note that I always read the character's name as Johns when I read the book, but this is how it's written. On the show, and maybe when you read it as Mayor Jans. Mayor Johns or Mayor Jans is played by the actress Geraldine James. Mayor Jans settled back in her faded plastic chair and watched the fickle winds play across the forbidden world outside. Her hands worked the yarn into rows, requiring only occasional glances to keep her pace. Often, the dust flew toward the silo's sensors in sheets, each wave causing her to cringe as if a physical blow were about to land. This assault of blurring grime was difficult to watch at any time, but especially brutal the day after a cleaning. The silo has a sheriff to keep the peace and a mayor to enact the laws. There's a third powerful person in the silo's leadership, and that's the head of IT, Bernard, played by actor Tim Robbins.
We do not know why we are here. We do not know who built the silo and why we are underground. We only know the world outside our sanctuary is death.
As I mentioned, the mechanics on the lower levels, they think that they're the ones who keep the silo's lights on and the system running. Well, the members of IT disagree, and they believe it's their servers that keep the silo running and all the survivors alive. In fact, IT has its own protection squad. They'll send out these troops to smash down any uprising or any danger they think to the silo or to their servers. The two characters you'll want to know from IT are Lucas, played by actor Avi Nash, a would-be astronomer who each night goes up to the upper levels to look at the monitors of the outside world and stare at the stars. The other character from IT you'll want to pay attention to is Bernard's right-hand man, Sims, played by Common.
Are you willing to give everything you have for this?
Sims is an interesting character in that, in the books, the reader only gets an insight into Sims from other characters, and most don't necessarily think too highly of him. I wonder if the casting of Common to play Sims, and the trailer shows that Sims might have a family not mentioned in the books. Perhaps they're giving us a deeper look into this character. The final character you'll want to know about is Paul Billings, played by, and I hope I pronounce this correct, Chinaza Uchi. The character is named Peter Billings in the books, but we already have a character, Juliet's father, Dr. Peter Nichols. They probably just wanted to get rid of a second Peter and renamed him to Paul Billings on the show. Billings works in judicial. Billings catches the eye of Bernard, the head of IT, and may be moving up the silo's social order rather quickly. This is going to be a 10-episode series on Apple, will be out May 5th, 2023. And if you haven't already, be sure to pick up the Silo series from author Hugh Howey, a great, fun, tense, twisty, action-packed, shocking book series, which I'm sure you will love. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. After each episode, we'll break down the episode, look at how it compares to the books, and also take your theories on what the mysteries of the silo may be.
Some mysteries are best left unsolved.